This is big breaking news. Multiple states have now declared a state of emergency. Millions of people are now going to be affected. And I've seen videos online, people saying that they are going to steal in response to this. They're going to take, and they're even going to potentially cause riots and chaos and things like this. I've seen videos warning of this. People saying they're going to do it, or they're worried that people that they know or their community is going to do it. So let's get into all the details here. You guys can see Louisiana plans emergency response for possible SNAP cuts. This is happening in multiple states. We will get to the other states in just a second. We can see here it says Governor Jeff Landry issued a updated statement regarding his warning that SNAP benefit cardholders may not receive benefits on November 1st due to the federal government shutdown. Quote, I have been in discussion with other governors across the nation, as well as with our legislative leaders. And he said, quote, I am making it a top priority to ensure that seniors, individuals with disability, and children who rely on food stamps do not go hungry in Louisiana. Okay, so this is, they're declaring an emergency. They're doing this in multiple states, but Louisiana is one of them. That was one of the first ones on top of this. And it's mostly going to be targeted at these special groups. Okay, so not everyone is going to get money from these SNAP benefits. It's only going to be special groups, seniors, children's, people like that with disabilities. And honestly, that should be how the program should be already. Okay, that should already probably how it should be. And it creates a issue, okay? It puts pressure on food prices as well too. Some people really need it, okay? A lot of people need it because prices of food have gone up so much, but there's also a double-edged sword where you're giving tens of millions of people, over 40 million people potentially affected from this, money to buy food, extra money just printed from the government. That is inflation right there. The government money buying food. And now you're in competition with government money. Okay, I know some people desperately need it, but that is the literal definition of inflation, is using government money to just print it out of thin air to buy real goods and resources that took a lot of energy and work to produce. It says here, Ben Broussard, Chief of External Affairs, has put in motion an emergency response to collect as much food as possible if benefits are cut. Catholic Charities of Acadiana is one of the nonprofits that began seeking a solution. Quote, that's 850,000 people in the state of Louisiana who stand to lose their benefits, Broussard said. Sorry, I don't want to have these ads playing. Sometimes they get copyright claimed, okay, on a random ad that's like playing in the background. He said, quote, it is a basic human right to have something to eat. So what we can do until these benefits are reinstated, we believe we can reach out and help our neighbors. We can grab a few extra things when we're shopping and put them in the collection baskets. That's something that we can create a collective impact. All right, and that's very true. People are going to move towards charity donations, food banks, things like that. They're going to have a lot more pressure. So if you do have the means to donate to these things, definitely try to donate if you can. All right, it says participating in Lafayette retailers include Adrian Supermarkets, Albertsons, Champagne's Markets, Super One Foods, Whole Foods, and Crossover Collective on South College Road. Quote, when you go shopping and if you find that you're in one of these stores, pick up a couple extra things, some shelf-stable items that can be distributed through our partner pantry system. All right. You can also see here the USDA is saying that they can't use any emergency federal funds for food stamps. That's what they are warning states of. We will get into more details of that in just a second. But also Virginia has declared an emergency situation for these food stamps. You can see here Virginia creates, quote, unprecedented emergency plan to save food benefits for $850,000. The state will use budget surplus to fund $150 million of monthly SNAP programs if federal shutdown extends beyond October, with a new state program ready to launch on November 1st. So 850,000 people in Louisiana, 850,000 people in Virginia. There's around over 40 million people in the entire US that have food stamp benefits. And I've seen videos, going around, people warning that, hey, some people just issuing warnings, say this could happen, kind of like I'm warning, hey, be on the lookout for this. Definitely don't do this, but watch out for this happening. And then I saw some people encouraging it too, saying that, people should just take what they need to take. And they were warning people, hey, if you're leaving the grocery store and you have your cart full of groceries, and people might just take your groceries. People might just steal your groceries. That's something that I've always just kind of been on the lookout in the back of my mind when I'm loading up groceries, just because I have kids too, is just keeping an eye on the cart, keeping an eye on the food, and everything just going on. People around you, these parking lots, some of them are sketchy, right? Especially at sketchy times. And one person was even saying, the stores aren't going to care, they're not going to have any liability, and they will just let it happen. I highly doubt that. Stores actually do have a obligation to create a safe environment in their parking spaces. That's why a lot of these parking lots have lights and things like that required, security cameras, things like that, depending on the jurisdiction. Some of them are required, or depending on the company, because they've had lawsuits where they create unsafe environments in their parking lots, right? So I highly doubt any type of company is just going to allow this to happen. But at the same time, they can't just prevent it from happening either. It's not up to them. And it could happen to anyone. So just be on high alert, be prepared. You can see here Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin has declared a state of emergency to ensure food assistance benefits continue for hundreds of thousands of residents as the federal government shutdown approaches its fourth week. The emergency declaration will allow Virginia to maintain supplemental nutrition assistance program benefits for about 850,000 residents who depend on the program for food security. And just crunching these numbers really quick. So they're putting $150 or $150 million into this, and there's 850,000 people. I mean, that's only around $200 if I'm calculating the math right per person. And that's a decent amount, but that's not enough to feed people for the whole month. Let me just crunch these numbers really quick, exactly what it would be. 150 million and dividing that by 850,000. Let's see exactly how much each person would get. Each person only gets $176 under that plan if it's distributed evenly, which definitely helps. That's important. People need that. Some people really need that. But at the same time, groceries are so expensive. That's like an order, half an order, for a lot of people. That's like a single order for a week if you're stretching it, for like one person, maybe two if you're really stretching it. It's not a lot of funds, and that's for the month. So it's really not going to cover much. It kind of puts into perspective how much money is really going into these programs. It's insane. This is one state putting in $150 million, and it's only enough to give everyone in the state $176. It's crazy. These are really big programs, and they're hard for the state governments to fund them. You can see here Virginia governor said they will use money from its $10 billion surplus to fund it. But I'm sure they don't want to keep digging into that. That would quickly be eaten away if they had to continue to pay this month after month. That surplus would be gone or diminished greatly, very quickly. So this is happening in multiple states. You can see here as well too that the USDA just sent out a letter to states. They were already warning them that there's going to be a lapse in funding. This happened last week reported on. But now it says that the Agriculture Department says it can't use contingency funds to pay for food stamps during the government shutdown, and that states won't be reimbursed if they cover the expenses on their own, according to a new memo obtained by Axios. Okay, you can see here they uploaded this memo. It says here, impact of government lapse on November supplemental nutrition assistance programs, household benefits. And they're saying that they're not going to cover this. Okay, 42 million individuals are on this, and starting November 1st, there's going to be no funding left. And I'm sure a lot of states were kind of counting on this too, to have this kind of in their back pocket. Well, we're going to claim these funds from the federal government later, especially declaring an emergency like this. Okay, this is one of the big reasons they declare an emergency, is because it opens up funding pathways like this, and they can spend funds on different things that aren't appropriated specifically in the budget. But with this memo that went out from the USDA, they are not going to be able to claim emergency funding from the federal government. I'm sure a lot of them were depending on that, kind of holding that in their back pocket as a potential kind of like loophole or a last ditch effort to get some funds or money from the federal government. And now USDA has completely shut that down. So that puts a lot more pressure on the Democrats to do something. All right. And it puts pressure on Democrat states as well too, and Democrat governors to do something, because they, in one sense, because these are both Republican governors doing this first, because they don't want people to feel the pain from the shutdown. They're trying to insulate people from it, so people don't blame Republicans, okay, and get mad at Trump. And that's kind of the opposite for Democrat governors. So they kind of want people to feel the pain and be upset with Trump, but they can only go so far. Okay, they're going to have to declare an emergency at some point and start paying up state funds to these people, because they're going to get pressure. Okay, so I think this is going to be a tough tactic, but potentially a successful one. I think once these benefits start drying up and there's a lot of pressure on state governors to do something and to start spending their own money, I think we are going to see the shutdown end. Okay, so hopefully it ends, mid-November or something along those lines, maybe early November, maybe after the first week or two of payments being missed in November, and it really hitting hard. Federal government workers just missed their complete full paycheck, their first one. Okay, they were still getting partial payments distributed, and they just missed a complete full paycheck, and they're not going to be getting any more now. So things are really starting to hit hard. All of that money that was kind of left over from the BBB bill that passed earlier this year, that money has all dried up. Okay, at least for most of these federal programs like DHS and ICE, things like that, have billions and billions, tens of billions of dollars to continue their funding. That's why they are not slowing down in their operations. Okay, and they're still getting paid. But other federal workers are now missing paychecks, and it's putting a lot more pressure. Congressmen are going to see this pressure, Republicans and Democrats, when they go back to their districts, especially over break. If this continues into Thanksgiving territory, we could see a lot of pressure, right? Especially before Christmas, people are going to really be desperate for these payments if it drags on that long. So this is on track to be potentially the longest government shutdown in history. It most likely will be at this rate. And just be on high alert, be on the lookout, have your guard up, just in case. I'm telling you, I've seen multiple videos of people warning, saying, hey, either saying we're going to start attacking people, as in the person that made the video saying, hey, we're going to just take food. That's their quote. Or people warning, hey, people are going to take food. And people saying in the parking lot, right? They see people because they're going to be like, hey, this person doesn't have EBT or SNAP and their grocery cart's filled up, so they must have money and we're going to take their stuff. That's what people were saying and warning of. And it's created a very entitled situation. Okay, I 100% get that people need these benefits in hard times. Okay, that's completely understandable. But the goal should be to try to get yourself out of the situation to not need that anymore, not create a dependency on these programs unless you are, like a senior or you're disabled or things like that. You're in a bad situation and you just don't make enough money. Okay, you're struggling. But the goal should be to get off these programs, and it's created a big entitlement for a lot of people. And when it's taken away, some people are going to be mad and angry and lash out. Okay, so just be prepared, be stocked up. This is why I always tell you guys to just have a little bit of a stockpile too, to get you through a couple weeks of a rough patch, because this could be it. It could be a government shutdown, could be the rough patch for you. It could be a big storm. It could be an earthquake. It could be a war, a natural disaster, an economic situation, collapse, okay? Whatever it is, just have some preps so you can get through a few weeks, just in case, all right? Or maybe you can help someone else get through a few weeks, all right? So thank you guys. Hope you guys are staying safe, staying prepared out there. I hope you have big blessings for your life and your family, and I hope you have a big old blessed day.